Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Paladins Console League. My name is Evan Rainday Rayner. I'm joined with Nick Pretty Hair Kiel, the birthday boy today. And you know what, Nick? We started a little late, but right on time for your beautiful suit.
Yep.
Your beautiful soul. Getting
You
a year
know,
old.
turning 25 last night, I woke up and I saw the wisdom on Demolition Bomb King. I
saw
saw
the
the wisdom on Nightshade Willow.
And Snow Globe Eevee, right?
Snow Globe Eevee.
You started to get
And
it.
I said, wow, it must have just been an age thing this whole time.
Well, I'm glad you finally come to the realization.
So that's why I'm here to champion Dredge's talent, where his allies can go through his shortcut.
They're freebooter. Nick is the freebooter. Okay, I can't wait. And we're going to get on a team that's going to do that for you. You give some talks to Kanga in the PGS.
Oh,
Say, guys, we need some free booting action. And
That's
of course,
what I need, dude.
In console, yeah, you just get a team
I
to
just
like
need a
champion
team that'll
it.
do whatever I want.
And
In the pro scene, Garrett, let me tell you what I've been seeing.
Nick, for your birthday.
Exactly what I wanted to see.
Exactly what
I
I
am
wanted.
the master of puppets.
You are the coach. You need to be a coach and an owner. Vex Gaming, Radiant Esports, Zimmerframe OTP will be starting off with this region as we get into it. And Xbox, of course, giving us the action. Vexed. They had a pretty decent round last time, but it was a little hard for them to close things out on Bright Marsh versus OTP. I think today with Radiant coming through, Smutney kind of being involved and seeing how his team has progressed against what is typically the top dog will be interesting. As Radiant get the first ban here, and of course, potentially the first map choice if things are indicated by that.
Serpent and Fish Market gone, so a lot of good stuff open here. Splitstone Quarry is the selection. Radiant will have the first pick in the champion draft as well. Young Vex, I gotta say, I've been very impressed recently with World Edit on Mr. Drogos, as well as it's cool seeing the Bomb King actually here in console, right? That's a big part of it. Koga stays banned out. I wonder if we'll just continue to see that.
Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, console has
especially after the nerf.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either, because I think Master of Arms clearly was the thing.
Yeah.
Dragon Fang seems to be less and less of a potentiality to dominate the console scene. So again, you're right. Good point. Maybe just shifting that towards the PC audience that will appreciate it. Not the intended effect, but might just be what ends up happening. Vex and Nara Mako, that's a good front line. But Furia, Fernando, Willow, that can get the job done too.
Absolutely. Vivian will be the selection. All the blasters are banned out except that young Willow, so we'll have to see what World Edit ends up piloting. Saris, actually, it's funny to see her come up in console. Obviously, it was just wonderful beating people up with Soul Collector Saris, and then we're starting to see it banned in other regions, right, against other teams. So I always wonder, like, how much, you know, cross-pollination, how much trickling those sort of things have from, you know, that is obviously one of the top teams with Skeppy and wonderful. Like, they definitely, I think, do a decent amount of meta setting.
Right.
Or if it's just kind of wonderful doing his thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my first look at that as we get ready to head in the game, all the drafts aligned here with the Ashens in, taken away. But, you know, my first thought was maybe they're styling a little bit here. And Wonderful is playing something off meta just to show that he can do it. But there is a lot of people who are still in the camp of Saris is a big deal. Although it doesn't translate to Europe in the PC form. It doesn't really translate to North America. A lot of PC, really. I mean, I don't know if that is a fluke or everyone's just decided that Saris isn't a part of the high level and someone needs to bring her out.
One thing I definitely think she has on console that she doesn't have on PC is obviously those ultimates. A lot of, you know, blocking that comes with like a fast whip of a shield or some sort of LFS blocker or a quick dash, right? That's something that just doesn't happen as quickly on the gamepad. So maybe that's why she sees a little bit more of effective play here, because the ult is, you know, the most dominant part of her kit. If you can hit it every time, that's the big caveat.
Well, as we showed you down below, let us know who you think is going to win this matchup as we do get started here with what I think is going to be a good set.
Yeah, I actually think this is going to be a good one.
And hopefully will show us a little bit of the power, you know, adjustments here in this region and on the system. Thanatix running the Fortress Breaker. Ash saw a lot of Makoa on him. The Furia and Smutney seem to be kind of a nice pairing. And the Void abides Saris for Lexi Zen. Slopodopolis notably not on a front line. Usually is kind of running those.
Right, yeah.
And Nark and Yui get those answers.
Goes for the guillotine as well. Couple of cauterizes out for either side here. World not on the blaster. He's going to be playing the hit scan out of the gate. A lot of shielding, though, to get through on Radiant Esports. I'm excited to see Smutny on Furia as well, especially the Solar Blessing. I feel like that's one of the few support legendary combinations where that support can really go to work and actually carry a game.
Man, the value of those Wings of Ravnik, I mean, Slop gets into a perfect position, but 600 damage he's not expecting, and probably just one shot from Smutny puts him at about 1,000 less health than he would have hoped. And that's the first blood, the second blood as well. Smutny finding himself some answers, and they all look good to start out this round.
And there it is, 63% on the objective as well. So just with the dominant start here for Radiant Esports, fighting on the objective nearly the entire time. I mean, this Makoa is probably going to shell spin down. But my goodness, oh, he almost caught him mid-air with the Pyre Strike too. That would have been really hot. That's the skill ceiling that I love about Furia.
And here's what Cirrus might be able to bring to the table. Absolutely. I guess nothing at this point. Vex Gaming here, all losing all their members. And right when I was trying to get excited, it seems like Radiant Esports shut it down. Said, Radiant, no, we're not going to let you cast an incredible comeback. We're actually just going to secure this objective.
You got Dead Zone.
Get Dead Zone.
Dead Zone blocks 100% of all hype casting in the area as well.
That's true.
Who knew?
I want those secret effects, man. I want those, like, really interesting passives that actually apply to real-world scenarios. You know?
That's tough game design.
It's tough game design.
It's a big ask.
Man, that's the next level of gaming, you know? They say VR. I say when you pick this champion, you have to wear brown shoes. That's the next level of Paladins Esports.
Well, Fade Flight flying up here. Brown shoes or not. Potent looking to find some damage with the only blaster available in this draft. Doing a pretty good job so far. And I actually kind of want to take a look at the healing numbers to see what this Solar Blessing Furia has been able to do. And just the fact that it's beating a Ceres. Any support plus an Aura really normally will take the cake.
Yeah.
But I think you have to just point to Potent at this point and say, hey, this guy hasn't really been under pressure and he's felt free to use his dead zones on this Inara.
Absolutely right. I mean, the ability to anti-heal cannot be undervalued in a game like Paladins, but also just the nature of Ceres' healing, where it is bursty but in a delayed way, is really susceptible to getting cut off by the anti-heal. And with Fury, who has two sources, right? Ceres really only has this Restore Soul. If Yui's expecting it, he's frontlining, and he doesn't get it because of Potent's Nightshade. Boy, oh boy, that is just a fight that you're going to lose. There's no way around it.
I mean, it's just up, like you're seeing it. It's up basically the whole time. That's the cool part about Ceres, is not only is it a low cooldown, but you can get to the CDR cap on her already low cooldown heal with just loadout cards. Slopodopoulos does get his kill with the guillotine there, but it does cost him his ultimate, of course, and it doesn't really seem to have slowed down the push from Radiant Esports very much.
Yeah, and honestly, I think they're trying to figure out the right pair, Nick. Slopodopoulos, I don't know whether it's because of the switch, not feeling as comfortable to take on the Cassier, or maybe it's just a bad matchup. He had Ceres right behind him, but Lexi Zin goes down as well. This is looking like a Vex team who's truly vexed at how to deal with the onslaught of damage from Radiant.
There it is, and R goes down as well. And here's the assert dominance deep in the enemy backline, trying to contest from the high ground, forcing out the Ancient Rage. I mean, this is a real battle for the finish line here. You can see the payload. The front fender is basically across the line here, but the Ancient Rage looks like it might just be enough to stall it all out.
And I think it was smart. He waited. He really looked at the moment and said, do I have to Ancient Rage here? Because it's a big resource. You don't want to use that if you know going into next round you're not going to have that available. But he makes a good call. It's 1-to-1 still. Yes, they will have used some resources, so Radiant may have an edge in terms of the ultimates, but the fight needs to be won in an entirely different manner, Nick. That was a basically 100-0 win for Radiant last round.
Yeah, you can see Narc 1-5 on an R. Just can't stand up this game. Gotta look at Potent here. Maybe we can get some type of pressure onto him. Whether it's Slopodopoulos, yes, he went Guillotine, which, you know, lets you know he is trying to focus those tanks a little bit more, but that ultimate's not up and available at the moment. And he doesn't have any vertical mobility otherwise, so if Potent positions properly, it's going to be difficult to get any pressure on him, and that's just the strength of what Radiant have been able to draft.
You know, it's interesting because Makoa and Ara, they don't lose too much, and especially in PC, but Fanatics taking the Ashe, which would have been probably the perfect champion to be able to just get Potent off the high ground or buy his team some time. It seems like they're trying to win this room, and they do. Forces Fanatics back as well. Narc getting low. Fortress Baker Shield comes up, which they're playing around, but Narc has to retreat. So does Slopodopoulos, and now Ceres forced to heal 2 targets, and the Inara getting very, very low.
I mean, look at Potent. He's not even really positioned safely. The Saris ult will hit as well.
Wow.
Fanatics just gifted a kill right in front of him there. Couldn't even really see the target. But he does land the 800 damage shoulder bash. Slopodopoulos knocked up into the air as well. Everyone huddled under the Solar Blessing for plenty of healing.
I think Radiant Esports just definitely win this draft as far as ease. And it's been a big theme over the last few weeks. Ease of execution. Radiant Esports grabbing objective number 2 here. Vex Gaming, again, Vexed, without an answer for how to deal with the onslaught of damage that has been presented. And part of it has to go to the value of Revolt Kings on this Cassie. Just being able to fill whatever role is needed in a fight.
Yeah, both the backliners for Radiant are absolutely crushing it. I believe they were top 1 and 2 damage going into this round as well. And given how, frankly, aggressively Potent was positioned there, he was basically sitting up on top of the bleachers, which is, you know, right there above the fidget spinner of death, so to speak. And he wasn't hooked off, right? Like, yeah, you know, I think that's a big part of, you know, what Makoa can do for you when you don't have anyone to pressure in a vertical mobility situation. He can just bring the fight to you, and so far we haven't seen that.
Oh, and it's clear to me, I think Vex at this point are not really feeling their lineup here. I think they're realizing they do not have a lot of options to chase Revolt, let alone get away, right? Because Revolt sometimes is doing the chasing. He's able to just get in and out with those dashes. The dodge rolls from Cassie proving vital, and Smutny is always on cue, where Inara Makoa might win this test of time in terms of health pools. It doesn't feel that way with the Solar Blessing Furia.
Just watching Wildcard try and make up his mind about where he wants to go apply pressure at the moment, and he's spun around a couple of different times, finds a good fireball, but it's still Revolt Kings. Just this consistent Cassie play from the backline. Solar Blessing comes through. Oh my goodness gracious, and this looks like, with a little bit of hope, a little bit of prayers, I mean, this one could go right on through.
And I mean, let's just talk about Ashe as well. I mean, when you can get the Solar Blessing onto her consistently, that's 5,650 health right now that you're getting back, whereas a Barrack at a 3,400. I mean, it's nearly 2 frontline champions in that regard. And I guess that's right there. Narc just wrong place, wrong time.
Little help from the hitbox.
Little help.
Little bit. Top damage coming through.
It really was the shoulder.
Almost, yeah.
The side.
You just caught it. She didn't even need to build up any momentum. Could you imagine just coming out of the gate that hot? Just the explosive sprinter start. 0 to 100, so to speak, for Ashe. And the front line's not too far behind, only about 10,000 damage from this Vivian world that it's sitting at 0 and 3. We talked about how impressive he's kind of become as a blaster player in the hit scan. And this comp just in general, you could see struggling for Vex Gaming. A lot of people negative. Slopodopoulos on the Xin, the only one positive, and he's got an ultimate that's a guaranteed kill. So yeah, if he was Yomi or something, this could be a different story.
Well, now this is looking very, very good because Anitix has not been prioritized whatsoever. He still can hit his head on the top and go into that assert dominance world edit. Lexi Zen forced back. I mean, this is just a dominating performance. I would be surprised if Vexed even get close to touching the objective. It feels like Radiant Esports are absolutely radiant today on Splitstone Quarry, and with 48% and counting, they should be game 1.
And on Splitstone Quarry, that's the key phrasing there. I wonder if it's just this map. Splitstone's still a bit of a fringe pick. Not every team knows exactly how to play it. I mean, look at that Renegades Splice match from Friday. I mean, yeah, Splice just got absolutely destroyed on this map due to the draft. So, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, if you haven't done your homework, Ancient Rage has turned things around once before. The hook misses from Yui.
That would have been nice to clean up.
Like I said, turned it around once before. Maybe that's what they look to start with again.
I just didn't like Nick Panatic's choice to use the assert dominance there. I felt like he should have maybe tried to own the high ground, right? He put himself in the position to actually get hit by the Ancient Rage there.
Yeah, that's part of it, right? I mean, you only give it as much value as it gets. Shield will go up. Immortal was been used. I mean, Wildcard's getting some good healing now, and it's Revolt Kings again, just so consistent.
And really, you know, what a great job by Smutny on the Furia and Wildcard. I mean, that Solar Blessing has given them 2, 3, 4 lives in each fight, and now the Inflamed 429 to the dome. Overtime is here. Vex tried, but there was no getting around that type of execution.
That's what's so cool about Furia. It's finally a support that feels like she can hard carry a game. When you place those skill shots appropriately, when you're landing your damage, good end flames, and Smutny, he's such an OG at this point. You love to see that type of thing from him. You love to see him step up to that plate and knock it out of the park.
Well, that was game one. Vexed obviously looking like the favorites coming into it, but Radiant Esports have been playing well. Vex showed some signs of weakness last map in terms of the week prior, and now they are facing defeat here in this best of 3 in the Paladins console league. Jaguar Falls will tell it all, and they better get it right in the draft. Yeah. Maybe take the Furia out of the hands of Smutney.
I think Radiant definitely get rid of Drogos here as well. Do not let Vex get back to their comfort spots. Like, that was a couple of things you had going for you. Obviously, that looked like their map pick. I don't know if it was for sure or not.
It did look like that.
But, you know, you got Vex in an uncomfortable spot. World Edit not on a blaster. Slopodopolis not on a front line. I don't know. It's maybe Vex thinking they can do a little bit too much. We talked about respect. We talk about, you know, having a little bit too much confidence in certain situations. Despite being the team to beat in EU Xbox, Radiant are putting themselves in that conversation, and they don't ban the Drogos, so I have to imagine Vex are going to scoop that up real quick.
Yeah, so it's the Drogos taken, and now Radiant can go for something. The Inara Furia might be what I think they prioritize, you would assume, in the draft phase, and it will be. But it's a little different. You know, the Fernando Ashe have the potential to go to Vexed here, Nick, especially since the healer's already chosen for Radiant.
Half of that will be scooped.
Okay.
Big Koa, but, you know, frankly, aside from the Ancient Rages, wasn't really much of a power pick for me in game number 1 there. I mean, the hooks weren't really landing. I think that was a big whiff there, and that could have brought Willow into the conversation. Cassie, Vivian. Cassie was a power pick for Radiant, and it's good to see them get that back.
Yeah, that's strong. And now look at the Maldamba. Who will they round this out with damage-wise? Oh, and it's the Talus. So this is a little interesting. Against the Talus and Vivian, against the Vivian and Cassie, Talus can succeed, but he has to be in the right spot. He doesn't necessarily win any of those matchups outright.
And Ashe is a tough one to dive on as well. I like the ability to go damage immune.
Solar Blessing.
Gives you something to play against the Dragon Punch as well, and just some way to contest what otherwise would be uncontestable. Inara is probably going to be eating most of those on the chin. Don't get tilted, though, and sometimes it can be that way when you're the Inara player. You're getting hyper-beamed, overpowered, everything off the map because you're the easiest target. But at the end of the day, that's going to be a really big power pick for Radiant, and that's going to have to be how they shut it down here in Game 2.
Well, who do you guys think watching in the chat is going to take this one? Make sure to answer the poll down below and let us know your thoughts. Nick, who you got your money on? I mean, I think I'm actually still siding with Radiant.
Unless World Edit hard carries this game, which he's kind of done before on Drogos, it is going to go to Radiant.
Yeah. Well, we are getting into game shortly, and to me, the Ashe pick has been quite transformational for the meta of the league. You know, Ashe was considered this champion that had a lot of tools, but ever since that shoulder bash CC immunity nerf, just kind of fell out of really ever being prioritized, but has found her way back. It's been a little bit more niche. Definitely a varied performance, I would say, but so far so good in game 1.
Yeah, certainly having our moments on the guys that can play her, as well as seeing just the new talent choice come through. I think that's the biggest thing when you lose something like CC immunity that's so sort of brain dead. You don't have to think about how you're going to get value out of it.
Right.
It makes it difficult to have to start using your brain, and that's where I think a lot of people are just like, oh, she's just bad now. It's like, well, I mean, put your thinking cap on. Maybe we can find a couple of ways to find value here, and people have found it in the Fortress Breaker.
I mean, I think Fury is a great example of a champion that kind of fits both of those, because Solar Blessing has a lot of benefit, but also Fury's got a couple of just buttons that when she presses, things get so much better whether you really try hard or not. Revolt Kings, though, seems to be whatever buttons he presses on Cassie, things get a lot better for him. Interesting use of the Fortress Breaker here. Just immune so much damage and doesn't allow them to get to him. I love the sideways angle, and that just controls the Dark Room. Radiant Esports off to a good start.
I mean, really, though. Talus Runa traveled back there. Maldamba slithered into it. That was just fish in a barrel right there, getting exploded, playing right in Ashe's wheelhouse. Lands the shoulder bash too, and you talk about Wings of Wrath, 600 damage. Like, that's so effective for Fury in 1v1s. You hit that 800 damage shoulder bash for Ashe, things are going your way.
Yeah, and here's World Edit trying to turn things around. He's got a lot to do, though. Thanatic's getting low. Both front lines, yes! That's Slopodopolis finding one. Can this be the turnaround for Vex Gaming? World Edit definitely a big part of this, and doesn't look like the Makoa has the ultimate yet. Radiant Esports, as you guys have said, looks like they're primed to take this one, and it should go that way, at least in round 1, as they take the lead.
I mean, Revolt Kings here on the Cassie, silently just putting in the assassin work in the back line. Really solid stuff from him. He already gets a scout off as well. So, I mean, he's got to be killing it on the damage charts here. Scout's a fairly quick ultimate to charge, but, I mean, look at him beating out. Vivian's only at 66% of her ultimate. My man's about to start lapping people.
Yeah, he is in an incredible position, and he's hitting so many basics onto these front lines. The consistency of his damage, or as we're seeing World Edit bring some of that burst occasionally, and that's what actually forced Antics to take an L in that fight off the zone. We're just not seeing this, right? Every single shot, and the Makoa just doesn't know what to do. He's like, I usually have a lot more health than this.
And that's kind of the opposite for Yui. That's 2 moments now on broadcast where you even see the disengage hit. You see that full combo hit by Revolt Kings, and you're seeing this Makoa miss multiple in-hand shots. Because that's just not a matchup that you lose. If Makoa walks you down and just hits every in-hand attack, as a squishy 2K roughly backliner, there's nothing you can do to survive it. So it's just the in-hands missing sometimes. And it's cool to actually see. Sometimes we say, oh, maybe it's just some guy hitting his shots better. That's kind of what it is in this matchup here for Revolt Kings. He is just hitting his shots better than everyone else. I
don't think, Talus, you have 1,200 health. You feel like you're about to die, but that's exactly what happened. Off of Smutny, just hitting him 3 times for 400+ damage. All of these Solar Blessings are just too much, I think, for Vex to work against, and it's Radiant Esports who take the 2-0. To start off their Jaguar
crazy,
Falls.
Man. This is Vex Gaming just getting whooped.
Absolutely.
At the moment. This is really what it comes down to. A couple of quick ultimates come through. I mean, we don't see that Dragon Punch land there, and that's an oopsie daisy as well. That's going to be a big way for World Edit, who, while having top damage, is still going to be 0-1.
And maybe there's some substitution things going on. I mean, normally Slapodopoulos is not on the damage dealer, so I wonder what changed for them. And maybe it's something with Yui going on and that needing to be coordinated for next week. Because right now, Radiant Esports look like they're just a league in themselves. And these little things of hitting your shots, well, they are actually big things in a first-person shooter. And I think Revolt Kings is showing us exactly why, you know, sometimes it's not the character, it's the player.
Here comes his Dragon Punch. We'll have to see if it will land. Nope. Wow, dude.
She jumped up on the wall. I love
that, though. Wow. Still, though. I mean, that one, I mean, he had the Fernando shield up. He had the training wheels on there. And Radiant Esports just found a way to slash his poor little tires on his way home.
And I just wondered, did the Fernando Immortal just get charged? It is very possible, but it was a day late and $1 short to keep the Drogos alive. And here's where you love to have Potent here just firing away. That Ancient Rage is forced off the objective because it's just too much damage, and now everyone on the side of Radiant Esports is able to just jump into this fight. Guns a-blazing. Narc, see you later. And now I think Yui and World Edit are going to fall as well.
I mean, you talk about couple uncontested clips with Victor, but when you're talking about a couple uncontested clips on Vivian, I mean, this is tens of thousands of damage going out. He had the Sentinels roaring as well for a couple of those. And it's just weathering the storm here. Despite comeback mechanic, despite all those massive ultimates, it's still 99 to zip on the objective.
I mean, this is a dominant draft. It's a dominant execution. This is what I wanted to see from Console today. I'm actually really excited to start the day off with a set like this, where not only the team we weren't expecting looks to be winning, but also the fact that they are being incisive. They're like a surgeon. Here is the way to kill you. We are going to do it. We get our point, and we move on. We keep the payload moving.
Ooh.
Maybe the first mistake I've actually seen with that Solar Blessing.
Maybe. I mean, Smutny's been really on point with those, and that's got a big win condition for them. I mean, they're crushing it on the healing charts. Multiple extra lives here. Another big heal comes through, and now it's Narc that may have overextended on this Fernando. He backs up into the gourd. Can't get this damage through the shield. And it looks like it might be a stabilization here for Fernando.
Man, this shield is such a value pick, but you're right. I mean, maybe just not having the full health to start that fight off while he was engaging was the big deal. But he has the healing there. So now it seems to be that if you take away some of the sustain that Radiant Esports have had forever, and you start giving that to Vexed, with an Immortal, a full heal onto the Fernando, things start to shift in their way.
I'm surprised we see that come out, though, given, you know, they already get that one-for-one trade. Ash was already dead. Even if Narc does die there, that's a juicy fireball to slow things down here on the left-hand side. But now that's a big resource spend, and Immortal's not quick to charge.
No.
So Narc has got to continue to land those juicy fireballs if he's going to have any hope of having his ultimate back up in this round.
Oh, and that's a good pick as well. I mean, things are starting to happen. I don't know. It's just the first moment I think we felt pressure onto Radiant Esports, and maybe it's just the commitment of Smutny to fall back And sometimes I like this with healers where you see they have like a 30 streak. Their whole team's died like 3-4 times, but the healers always just backed off. And sometimes I'm thinking maybe you do need to commit there to be able to keep your team alive. What's a streak at the end of the day? You don't win any brownie points from that.
Stored ultimate charge for your enemies.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
30 seconds here. Fourth commentator letting us know the state of the game. Almost there on the Ancient Rage as well. So big resources still in the tank for Vex Gaming. Radiant Esports. Is this the momentum shift happening? World Edit finds a nice pick up over the top. They've done a really good job at holding this somewhat forward choke rather than letting the payload roll all the way up to their base.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's just Potent had such an easy round. What happens when he has pressure? Maybe also Slappadopoulos is getting into the backline and distracting here, and finally Smutny falls. You know, his whole team wipes. He doesn't die 3 times, and then he finally dies. I like the commitment, but I think just commit a little bit more.
Very different round there. Very different defense from Vex Gaming.
That was, yeah.
Able to bring it back here. 0-1 to 4-3 for World Edit. Still maintaining top damage. The change needs to come, I think, from this, you know,
change
backline.
gonna come.
It needs to find, and it has been. Slappadopoulos able to put some pressure on Smutny here. Goes from 4-0 to 6-1. Now it's slowing him down for sure. There's a lot of momentum still there. And the healing gap is closing a little bit as well. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, and that is, we saw Lexi Zen have those contributions, and he's a player that has been, you know, a big part of this scene for a long time. And so to see him underperforming and to see them getting outclassed by that pairing, it is odd. Makes you wonder what is going on. Maybe Vex Gaming looking to actually get a win are willing to make some different choices. And so far, World Edit likes the choice he made. Finds Cassie. Not going to get me this time, Anar. He's going to do the loop-de-loop. Can't get out alive, but he gets 2 for his trouble.
I mean, there was a potential of blocking that off there, but Wildcard, with the amount of confidence he stood there with, I assumed he would have known where he needed to put his wall to not let that Drogoz fly right over it there. That was a little bit of a mistake for me.
And you know what, Nick? We did talk about the win condition. Maybe it was World Edit just dominating, right? Still 70%, but they've got the comeback mechanics, so it's going to be difficult to get on there. We assume that there it is. The true power will come through. Who was it on there? Knocking down up and to the ground is Thanatix. He's going to hold it for just a bit, but Smutny was killed by that true power, and so he's got no sustain. It's literally just a matter of who hits their shots and which shield works better. But Slappadopoulos comes in, it disrupts the party, and is able to help him and Vex Gaming secure this objective.
I mean, he finds 3, and then, you know, we saw that momentum shift happening, and now it has completely changed hands there. Gets the rune of travel out as well, just to add insult to injury. The pressure put onto Smutny there. They maybe find the Achilles heel of this composition.
And I think I'm glad to see this set unfolding. We're watching a team that has had this kind of mastercraft style, and it's almost like, you know, maybe looking at a great tennis player like a Roger Federer, right, versus a Nadal, and you say that that one is outclassing the other, but suddenly, you know, you get on a different footing, you're off grass, you're on clay, and you start to realize that, hey, you know, this player's great, he hits his shots, but his movement to the left or the right, actually, I'm a little better at that. So let's start taking these shots a little wider. Let's force the athleticism out of this rather than the technique. And they're really applying pressure in different ways, and we're seeing Smutny and the rest of Radiant start collapsing.
Slappadopoulos is catching fire on this Talus as well. He is getting picks this time around, and it's going to take a little bit of a heat check there, I think, to slow him down and bring it back to reality.
Why let that go?
Smutny is going to let that one go. Fernando heads back to the front line, despite Smutny being at only about 200 HP.
He's about a fireball away from death at that point, and you're already there. I know you're probably going to die, but you dying and still having your healer in one tank, I think is okay, and getting their healer off the table because they're counting so much on it. So, you know, those are min-max moments where that's the stuff that I want to see more in console and PC, where players, there's a safe decision to retreat, sure, but you go for it and you say, let's make it happen, guys. And maybe that's where you start to tie this game up.
I mean, the pressure on Smutny has been the difference in this past round and a half here. He had his nice little streak burning, but haven't seen a flaming number on his portrait since. It's Slappadopoulos, it's, you know, maybe even Narc getting the back line on this front line. Fernando trying to find a way to put this pressure. That's been a big win condition for them. And I want to look at the healing charts now and see if is there any difference. Is the gap starting to close tighter and tighter? This Maldamba starting to catch Fury as opposed to being doubled for 2 games straight.
Absolutely. Here we can see Narc as well having a bigger impact than before. I mean, undoubtedly, Revolt Kings has become very silent, Nick. Whereas normally you saw him on that Cassie just having these unlimited runs of doing whatever he wanted. Lexi Zen now the one who's staying alive. But again, doesn't really matter much. Your whole team is going to die as well. Talus trying to keep it in over time, but this one is surely going to fall over into the next round, and we will see a 2-3 score line as Radiant Esports again look to close this one out.
And I think that's a big part of it too, you know. When Revolt Kings is just allowed to run around and do whatever he wants, you can't be everywhere at once. So if pressure is being applied in one place, that means there's probably a window for vulnerability somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it appears that it is that relatively immobile backliner. Smutny still 8-3 here, still doing a great job on the healing charts as well as bringing a decent amount of DPS. But keeping him safe, I think, is the key to this. It's clear to see when he goes down, this team fight is just not the same for Radiant.
No, I mean, how many fights on Splitstoke Warrior were absolutely just denied because of those solar blessings? I mean, there were moments where Narc and Yui were able to be successful, but you can only just fight into a full health front line again and again and again before your health runs out. And here's the Makoa. This is what they've done. They've sent Yui into the back line, and I don't mind this at all. They've started to try and apply this pressure with Slopodopolis, and they find Revolt Kings in the process, and the Ancient Rage is sacrificed. Is this going to be enough? It seems like it is, to just apply the pressure, and that's, again, Vex Gaming getting unvexed, finding answers to their problems.
Half comeback mechanic as well, so they'll be capturing just a little bit faster, but when a 3-for-0 comes through, when a zone is this strong,
very strong,
and World Edit doesn't even lose his life for that transgression. I mean, Vex Gaming looked like they might have this one about wrapped up. In terms of this payload, still could end the game on a conversion as well in this round, but Radiant Esports struggling to find an answer.
Oh, and that's perfect. Dread Serpent, Dragon Punch, they had everything ready. It's 3-3. And look at this, World Edit even hits a salvo after that. Says 10 HP is about 9 mo than I need. As 2 minutes and 15 seconds now for Vex Gaming to unbelievably win this game.
I mean, good on them. That's just resilience right there. Could Fire Spits continuing to be hit. They were getting dominated, and it's tough, especially in these best of threes, to be getting smoked for a game and a half of the 2 that you have to lose, and then still find a way to come back. But that's Vex Gaming. They are the big dog in this region. This is what we expect from them.
And what I'm very impressed at is that mid-round adjustment. Narc actually just gets out of the way, and Thanatix goes off the map. I don't know if that was a mistake. I would assume that it might have been. At this point, there is a little bit of room to push. Revolt Kings has had to back off and give off this right side waterfall corridor. Just gotta be careful.
I think I'm still kind of like a little bit curious about letting the Drogos through. When you have a bit of a switch up here between, you know, who's playing frontline, Narc and Slopodopolis trading off there, why not? I get it, it's Koga, but at the same time, you're letting World Edit get to, you know, arguably his best champion on his best map versus a Koga who we haven't really come to terms with what his best map would be or who would even really play it for Vex Gaming. So I think that may be giving a little bit of too much respect for the Koga in this instance.
And that, you know what? Absolutely true, Nick, but you look at that Solar Blessing. I had to remark on it. That was the stuff that was happening. Thanatix is low. He's about to die. Everyone's committing, and all of a sudden, a Solar Blessing full health, 5,600 now to deal with. And now Radiant Esports look dominant. They're the ones applying pressure. So much of this matchup is whether Smutny can just get these off.
Gets a big one off in the doorway there. If multiple people can huddle under it, then it's pretty much all over. Vivian's starting to walk people down. Somebody was looking like they wanted to flank there, but World Edit looks like he backs off just to put some pressure back on the objective. 20 seconds on the clock. Enough time to stabilize for another push, maybe. A lot of big ultimates that probably won't be spent because it's going to be 3-3 either way. Vex Gaming, it's a bit of a gamble.
It is.
But they do. I don't know if they know how in charge of the ultimate economy they are currently.
Yeah, that's that'll at least help this out. Slopodopolis has been a big part of this push, and you just wonder maybe what you would hope for if you're Vexed is to get maybe an Ancient Rage, get a True Power, get something like a Dragon Punch, so next round you feel good as Radiant coming through, but they didn't get any. In fact, it's the Vivian who actually doesn't have her ultimate yet, needs to charge up those sentries.
bit of a blessing in disguise, honestly, that there's not this extended overtime there. Because we're just locking in the economy right now for Vex Gaming. Right? We are locking in the ultimate lead that we had at the end of that round. They have all 5 available. Radiant Esports missing the Inflame, which could be up very, very quickly. Thanatics on this Ashe might be the only one who's a little bit delayed, but even at 66% heal, he'll get there for sure.
Should be okay. Blast shields as well, notably from Slop
and
on
World Edit. Yeah, it's like, look at World Edit and Slopodopolis. It's like, I mean, is the Ashe damage really that much?
The blast shields, I mean, I would be surprised if the Sentinels didn't consider themselves as blast damage.
They are,
so,
as well as the blast shot combo from Cassie. But
yeah, there's a couple of things. I agree, though. It feels like Haven might have been the better
everyone
choice.
is direct damage, I guess. You know, that's what I look at.
Absolutely here, but, you know, I'm not a fan of teams playing, you know, a vacuum type style. If you're getting killed by a blast shot over and over again, I don't mind you going and saying, all right, blast shield, so I can at least survive that. 30% and some ultimates used on the side of Radiant and Vexed. Vexed, though, getting the better end of it, and you're right, staggering it, Nick, with a decent zone. This looks like Vexed are in control.
Still ultimates in the tank as well.
True power.
Here comes one of them. And it's finding Smutny. Slopodopolis
Nice.
uses it out. Beautiful counter with the Inflame, but can we get there in time?
That's
it's so
the
close.
question.
We'll be able to get the overtime started. Smutny had to dive so deep, though, and he's going to lose his life for it. Trust your frontliners, man. I think they could have got this one going without you needing to lose your life. And World Edit, the man with the plan, the first pick, Prodigy, manages to lock down 2 more on the point.
And I think Lexi Zen's got to give all credit for that. I mean, what a beautiful asset acquirement. It's like, we need to get this Furia. I'm going to Dread Serpent to make sure not only that we buy ourselves some time, but we can clean her up, just prioritize her hits every shot. Yeah. And that means that there's no way that they can sustain. It's going to be a best of 3 now. We're going to game 3. Vex tie it up. And I think Radiant let that one slip through their fingers. Man.
I think maybe just a little bit. I would have loved to have seen Smutny not dive onto that. I think not only was a Gnar there to get it started, but you had Ashe going there, and that's just the panic of the moment right there. It wasn't clearly called who was going to be able to touch.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, you never know, and that's why, you know, you have to give credit to, I think, Vex for putting them in that situation, because there was a combustible Drogos. There was a little bit of displacement, so even Vash is running there. There's the Dread Serpent. Maybe she can't make it. But here it is right there. You're right. You have 3, and Potent gets speared away, so no damage comes through. That's what Yui allows to be picked up, and World Edit, man, just makes the biggest difference here.
They were at 93% too. Like, there is time.
You got
there.
a second.
There is time there to get through and get that one contested out. But panic of the moment. It is what it is. Radiant are in a position that not a lot of people have been before, right? They're probably really excited about this opportunity to take down Vex Gaming. They'll head to Brightmarsh as well. Pretty much as close as the map gets to one another, I think Jaguar Falls and Brightmarsh.
Right.
So if they can just kind of take notes on what maybe went wrong for them, they have first pick now as well. If they devise a proper strategy around this, maybe they take this W.
Prioritization of the blasters within the bans and the picks has been interesting. Radiant, again, committing to the Koga ban and the Bomb King. And we're seeing now a whole slew of things. Vex take away the thing that's been working so well for Smutny. Lexi Zen, I think, feels confident playing other healers. He's done it all set. So now Radiant going to grab the Drogos because it is available.
So what will World Edit head to? It was Vivian in game 1. Didn't look great. I think maybe you look at getting the Cassie away from Radiant as well. They'll go back to the Khan Makoa.
That's
first time he's available as well.
I mean, in Brightmarsh, you accidentally take advantage of a lot of those firing line moments if that's what you go for. The early Saris. Interesting.
But feels like they're attacking Vex.
Yeah.
Those are all picks that Vex had in game number 1.
Yeah.
Except for Drogos.
But my problem, too, is looking at the fact that, you know, Saris that early, Lexi Zen has his best performance on the Moldamba. I mean, he was very, very, I think, pivotal in turning that game around. And they give up the Cassie. I think I'm okay giving Saris to Vexed or Moldamba to Vexed if I can get Revolt Kings still comfortable. But
yeah. It comes down to, I think, what your comp wants, what your support player wants, because
he's calling.
I know Lexi is fine, I think, playing whatever at this point. And the Pip will come through for what I assume to be World Edit.
That's probably World Edit on the Pip. The Pip is a great pickup, man. And it's great in these sets where you just, you know, life is going, you're driving down the highway of Paladins and competitive. You don't never see him. You never see him. You just never see him. It's like 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, 5th pick, game 3. and he's there, and you're like, oh man, yeah, Catalyst Pip is actually really good.
Yeah.
And we don't have anyone who could track him down on Bright Marsh. Who do you guys think is going to win? The Pip throws it for me, and because Vexed have the momentum coming from set 2 and no Furia, which was such a big part of Smutney's frontline combination there, I'm actually going to give it to Vexed in this game.
I like the Pip as well because it's, you know, Convergence is one of those ultimates that people hear it and, you know, they start to salivate. They're ready to get that quadra kill or whatever it is. And they group up, they clump up like a bunch of ding-dongs, and then if Pip is positioned properly, he counter-ults all of them.
That's right.
And they all get smoked.
Well, Bright Marsh here is our game 3 for this wonderful console league beginning. It's been a very interesting set as Smutney gets ready for his Void Abides, a good talent on this map, albeit Lexi's in back on the Maldamba with the Spirits Chosen, and World Edit as we assumed on the Catalyst Pip.
Not a lot of innate anti-heal here. It's just the 75%. Life is a highway, and Pips come to drive it.
Pips go flats.
Wow. Fickle, chat. You're fickle voters.
They are.
One way or the other.
And
Can he hit it?
Man, does the console jump.
Even on the controller.
No problem.
What a beast.
I feel horrible every time I see it. Danitix, oh man. I mean, is this looking like a different shade? Nice heal. And this is the thing I was worried about, the mobility of this champion. He can contribute so well to flank fights and point fights. Incredible ultimate, burst healing when you don't need it, when you need it. And Revolt Kings here finding Slopodopoulos early on, so this could be big. We actually thought Potent was maybe going to grab the Drogos, but Revolt, he's piloting it this game, and so far Radiant Esports in control, 54% counting.
When you drag your feet against an Inara, you risk just kind of getting walled off, but one of the frontliners let in. I think you separate him here. Once he tries to start retreating, the wall usage is going to be critical here. Goes up right as the shell shield comes down. Can they burn this Makoa in time? He tries to shell spin out of the room. Nicely done by Wildcard.
I mean, they've forced everyone else away, which I think is good. And he's just trying to get a kill on the Smutney, but he's missing some crucial shots and has to reload. And I think that's one of the things where we looked at it. Radiant Esports is doing a great job of just mechanically contributing to these fights. And now gets a heal from Smutney. That's the seismic crash. And Nara's got so many credits. And the hook comes, but it is so late. Radiant Esports in control here round 1.
That con just got absolutely stuffed by Saris. And not accounting for the massive self-heal that is Solrend in the backline.
That's true.
Saris can basically top herself up from 0 to 100, and that's something that, you know, no other support can really do as effectively, especially when it's a really big target. Yeah, you pretty much can't miss. Narc, after that moment, you could see he just didn't know what he wanted to do, right? He's kind of looking back and forth. This fire spit, do I look at this Drogos back to the point? And then he ends up coming up short with nothing.
I like this, and this is what I would expect to see the Evil Mojo used for. Big heal as well, no cauterized application, but he's used his waitlist to actually get in, so he needs a little bit of that con healing. And when I think about it, man, 3 sources of healing on this team. There is quite a lot of sustain and burst.
That's the exact same thing that just happened in Narc, right? You know, you overcommit without really realizing how much burst healing is there. I mean, he heals himself, and then he's just all over the place. There's so many walls, so many places to jump around to on Bright Marsh, stuff that you're just not used to having to deal with, angles you're not used to having to play, because Pip is not the most popular champion at the moment, but the people that can do this champion well are so frustrating to try and lock down.
They certainly are, and it just feels like at times it could definitely feel unfair, you know, just in the value of like, well, how am I supposed to beat this? And again, very much about the player. And the champion is, in this case, going to be less important, especially if you can't hit things like fire spits.
That was an ugly little sequence. Maybe feeling like we're trying too hard to take stuff away. You know, you just end up crippling yourself if you can't play it as effectively. And in terms of console Drogos, this World Edit is definitely in the conversation of the top 2 or 3.
Yeah. And I like the decision from Slopodopoulos to try to just stay alive, and he's actually done quite a decent job. And he's actually might pick up Smutney here. Oh, he had to reload, but if he had another shot, I think he might have killed Smutney. That would have been a good call, just not enough to be able to turn the tide for Vexed.
Smutney able to slink away and get everyone topped back up as well. That's the key here. Only 15 seconds on the board. A lot of ultimates available. Decent damage from that salvo. Forces Cassie back for the time being here, but this is an awkward little halfway point. If a pick is happening in the next 5 seconds, that's when it's really relevant. That fight that was just won by Radiant doesn't really net that much.
Yeah. And of course, World Edit finding Fanatics now is rough, and now with Revolt Kings down, Smutny hooked, you would assume that this is not looking good, but hey, Slopadopoulos made a lot of things happen by himself. So now he's got a Ceres with him, and there is still Radiant Esports within Inara getting healed up.
I think Vex Gaming are doing a really good job when the situation calls for it, just ignoring Wildcard on this Inara. And ignoring Inara is a lot of times the best way, right? That's
right.
You know, there's no way for a tank to force you to focus on them unless it's like a Makoa literally dragging him to you. But even then, you can just kind of run back away. Inara definitely gets ignored a lot more than the rest of the front lines. And I think Vex Gaming, with their experience, they're doing a good job at circumventing when she is going to be at her strongest.
Absolutely here. 18 seconds now, and World Edit with a pretty decent slash line. Slopadopoulos really, though, the talking point. The Cassie, 8-3 for Vex Gaming. Had a lot of nice moments there, stalling out that point for his team and allowing the defense to take place eventually.
That's been such a big pick for anyone who's gotten it so far, and neck on the healing charts this time. That's the difference. Obviously not taking Khan or Pip into account here. Smutny has been able to run the charts for too long. Ascension Rage.
Oh, wow.
And the Evil Mojo as well. The Dragon Punch, try and counter it out. Will it land? It will, just barely.
And you got to wonder, what's the value there, especially with Smutny healing up Revolt Kings. It feels like Radiant Esports still have all the threats on the table. Slopadopoulos going to find a big kill, and this duel will probably serve as a measure of who's going to succeed, and that was Slopadopoulos continuing his onslaught. Potent, he looks like the next to fall.
And he will be. World Edit finds a nice little shot around the corner there. Radiant Esports so strong out of the gate, but starting to shake a little bit off the tracks. 1-1 on the scoreline here. Still have plenty of room to come back into this. Seismic Crash will be immune to out by Slopadopoulos. The outplay from the Cassie today. I mean, she's been a high-impact champion in this set.
Absolutely, and I just wonder if this will relate to all of console, because we see her be valuable, but I'm not sure we see her be this game-changing all the time.
No,
Overtime taken away, and that's another one. Sloppy. Oh, slippity slopping on everybody on the side of Radiant Esports. 2 minutes now, 27 seconds left. Vex Gaming in control.
Chance to go up 3-1 here as well. A 2-point lead is something Vex just
Look at that.
haven't tasted this set. Yui's starting to land shots. Gets walled off, though. The appropriate counterplay there to any over-aggressive front lines. Potent's got the Sentinels out as well. He's going to be cranking out the damage on anyone that missteps.
And a very, very good kind of line of fire here, but Slopadopoulos has just been playing flank. He's been playing damage. He's been playing all the roles you need for him, and Revolt King's losing out in a couple of duels. I mean, that is going to be the difference. He also gets overpowered by the Khan, and so clearly a threat that they are fine dealing with.
Can we swap to the Vivian here? I want to see something, because she got hit by... Okay, she did lose one of those.
Gotcha.
I was just curious to see if like a blast shot combo was enough to deal with both of those. She didn't get... I saw like a couple of low numbers pop up, but that's a big part of like what I look for when I watch Vivians is like things like combustible Drogos and stuff that's going to immediately just delete those Sentinels.
Wow.
A lot of crowd control coming out here, but Potent just happy to walk them all down.
But, you know, I'm actually super, super happy to see the commitment. It ends up kind of not working for them, but I like that they took a chance. They took a chance. Let's make something happen. We got 1 minute and 10 seconds. It's Bright Marsh, guys. We'll be back very, very soon.
Take a chance on love.
And it was a decent idea. I thought it was a big commitment to try to get the Vivian, but they must feel that she's contributing quite a lot to this hold.
Yeah, I think the angle of the dangle of that Dread Serpent was not exactly what Lexi was hoping for. It really kind of feared the Vivian on the route to safety anyway. And then Fernando was right there to follow it up with a nice little shield, allowing the Vivian just to walk it all down. Plenty of time left on the clock, though, to get things rooted back up here for the offense. Vex Gaming, couple of big ultimates as well that they still haven't committed. Dread Serpent, you know, it's quick to charge when you're cranking out healing, so Lexi's already back to almost 60%.
And that's a big deal. The Narc got the heal, not from himself, but from the Pip, and those little things. I mean, you talk about a Khan burst heal, and you talk about Pip showing up. That is going to be the difference in keeping a Khan alive. And there it is, another heal, 840 this time, though. Combustible hits, and that actually will mean that Revolt King's doing a little bit of extra damage, but not when it's immune And now things are starting to get a little hairy. He's so close. And Khan knows it, but Narc just can't quite find the dragon yet.
That's the difference, man.
That might have been it.
Level 3 offensive items might have been the difference there for Narc. Has an overpower available as well. Fanatics goes down. I mean, this could be a moment where you commit from Vex Gaming. They have so many big ultimates available as well.
Nice.
Pressure's kind of going their way. There it is.
There it is.
Saris ultimate only picks up 1, but I don't think they were able to actually confirm both of the kills. Double kill for Yui on the objective. Get behind this Fernando. Get ready for the shield. Hook it out. Don't sit in front of it.
Yeah, seems odd. Seems odd, but that's okay. I always like that kind of style where you look at me or you look at him, but you can't look at both of us and you're exposed one way or the other. But they do a good job of managing it. Burn the shield. Make them stand on the gourd. And Vex Gaming trying a 2-0 after losing game 1. And they could do it on this next point.
Coming back with strength for sure. And this is, again, what I assume to be Radiant's map pick because they lost game 2, so they get to come here.
Yeah.
3 and 8 for Potent. It's just a bit of a switch up here for Radiant Esports. It's not the typical lineup that they had run all set long. And down the stretch, it looks like the 15 and 6 Cassie ends up being a big factor, as well as just being comfortable. And that's what happens when you are the most experienced team in this region console lineup. Vex Gaming have done it for so long, so going to different things is something that probably comes pretty easy to them.
And it's, when you look at that pip healing and that con healing, it might as well be 2, 3, 4 times that. Because I think what the value is in the burst. It's in the surprise factor that this person is now still fighting when it looked like he was low, and now I have to make a split-second decision on how to handle it, because that is truly the impact already. Slopodopoulos just helping to finish off Fanatics. The Immortal use as well. This could be bad.
Really looking to find Smut here around the tree. Saris escapes into Shadow Travel for the time being. Almost everyone is dismounted here. Fernando is able to make a decent amount of progress, and here it is, the evil Mojo, but will it find the kill? Fernando pops out so fast, 75% on the objective, but it's starting to fall apart. Cracks in the deep.
What? How the?
I mean, they're so concerned with the objective, the time, and he's allowed to live entirely in top and back cell phone.
Oh my goodness gracious. That was surprising there. He looked dead to rights, and how World Edit makes it out alive, they will tell stories to your grandchildren about that moment because it just seemed impossible, and Heidi-ho, it ended up happening. A fairy tale for the man, but can he turn it into a point and close out this set? Fanatics going to find him this time around. The brand is still working. 97% and counting. Overtime ticking away. Slopodopoulos has to make a play here.
So much effectiveness by this Fernando. I mean, he's distracting this Cassie for so long. The Saris ultimate pulls in, I think, 2 here, and it's Thanatix just putting down the hammer in the back line. He's dropping bodies left, right, and center. So much effectiveness in this last fight.
Slopodopoulos, though, my God, I mean, an incredible amount of just battle that was happening to stay alive, stay in the conversation, but it's Radiant Esports who will take this objective nevertheless. And Vex Gaming will now have to have some answers themselves for how to deal with what is now an offensive push from Radiant.
2 minutes 30 on the clock to try and get it done. The Immortal is up and available. That's about it. One more Fire Spit would put the Dragon Punch there as well. ADS and a dream for Potent here. He locks down the left-hand side, going to work. He's got his frontliners in front of him, and the payload making really good progress. To be honest, out of the gate here, if Khan goes down, this could potentially actually snowball to finish out this map, or excuse me, not this map, but this round, as everything is falling the way. Stagger out the support, let this Cassie get staggered as well, and there it is. Radiant Esports, just momentum, momentum, momentum.
Yeah, and I like how they're pushing it. Just make this game, get to a 3-3, and I think, you know, at this point, Radiant Esports and Vex Gaming are better off that way. Both teams, you know, have a lot of ultimates in the tank, and if anybody commits but doesn't get what they're committing for, it could be a big problem next round. Vex Gaming, of course, trying to just defend without those huge ultimates that will have value, but look at this, Smutney finding the damage himself, takes down World Edit, and now Sarah's looking like the one who's doing damage, not the pip. It's 3-3, best of 3. This win as long as possible, and now 1 point will decide it all.
10 ultimates available as well. The overpower up on the Inara.
You wonder if that was Revolt Kings trying to make the dopest, if that was him trying to make the dopest play ever and body block the Inara. It kind of looked like that a little bit.
Can you even do that?
Yeah, we'll stop on the person hit.
Oh, man. I've never seen it done.
I've never seen it done, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, what? You guys got to let us know if that.
I thought it was just
something
maybe it's just terrain. I don't know if it's terrain or if it's like, you know, hittable targets.
Yeah, I think it slams into your. I really do think it slams into your opponents, but we'll have to see. I don't know. Somebody try to mock that up for us. Never seen it before, that's for sure.
Be the first. And into the back line goes the Ancient Rage again. Stay in range of the Immortal.
I'm coming.
Certainly wishes she had that available, but no longer. Potent still goes down. It's just Ancient Rage, man. He's going to go trade out 2-for-1 in the back line.
Yeah.
Or make it 3-for-1.
It took a long time for Thanatic to die. He should have just tried to die right away. And now the zone is too strong here. I mean, within an hour, she's already dismounted. It's going to be very, very hard. What she's going to try to do, they need the burst, is to be able to wall him off and finish him. But it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do that. He's saving the wall for something else. Commander's grab, I mean, that's going to make the journey even farther. And there's the Evil Mojo. This time it connects, and Vexed Gaming, boy, do they take the long road, but they find the victory.
Brick wall, and I think they're going to be a better team for it. A lot of things they had to pull out, looking really good on some of the swaps they made. The Cassie was phenomenal. The Pip worked out, I think, very well as well.
Slopodopoulos, I mean, making that switch, it was a really slow start, but man, it finished really nicely in game 2 and 3. And so that's Vex Gaming taking set number 1 here in our Xbox side of the Paladins console league, at least for Europe. I'm excited to see how this transitions, and I'm sure we will bring up standings or the schedule for you all to just take a look at where that puts us in terms of the value of that win. You know, for me, overall, big I think ask of Vex to complete that after starting off incorrectly with that loss. But overall, it's sometimes those little moments where you get over that hill that make you a better team.
Staying undefeated here, Vex Gaming looking like they're going to be in a pretty good spot to lock down their land positions here pretty shortly. I believe 5 weeks the console league will run, and PPL on the bye week this week, so console league will continue to play out here.
Yeah.
And we will have our LAN teams, I think, pretty shortly here if these guys continue to stay undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, that might have been the game that would have changed it. So they might have just qualified in terms of head-to-head and all that stuff. We'll let you know, I'm sure, on Twitter or sometimes later. But we're going to take a little break before we get right back into the next set. So stay tuned. We got more Paladins Console League coming up on this Monday.